Hey guys, welcome to Make It Yourself. This video is going to be about um, making a custom closet setup. So my closet's relatively small in dimension, and looking at all of the different options out there as far as like wiring setup, or not wiring, but the wire type, shelving and the wood shelving and all that, nothing really fits. It's either going to be very big and not fit and I'd have to do major cutting, or it's going to be just not configured to what I think would be best for me. So I decided to go ahead and just kind of put my own little system together, and I'm going to convert this kind of mix mash of stuff into a well organized closet. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so ready to get started. Step one, I got to pull all the stuff out. And just like that, the closet is cleared out. So now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate the studs in the wall. On the left, I'm going to put shelving to replace drawers and some of the storage that I had in here. And then on the right will be two rows, one row for shirts, the bottom row for pants, and then I'm going to maintain storage up there. Whether or not this side will line up with the shelves is to be seen here. I've got some measurements that I need to lay out as well, but I'm going to go ahead and put those in. Like I said, identify where the studs are, because that's going to be important for the brackets that are going to hold the shelving up. You want to make sure that if you don't have a stud behind the wall where you're mounting that bracket, to use a drywall anchor. So that way, as you put stuff on it, it doesn't just pull out of the wall on you, collapse and make a total mess. So I'm going to go ahead and put those markings in place and bring you right back. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and find the studs in the wall here. And there's a couple methods that you can use to locate studs behind drywall. I recommend you search for those videos on YouTube, because there are a lot of ways. I'm going to show you the methods that I use. They're not the best. Maybe they are, I don't know. But regardless, these are the ones that I use and they work for me. So if they work for you too, awesome, right? So if you get yourself a measuring tape, what's nice is some of them, not all of them, they have indicators that show every 16 inches some type of, call out, right? So in this case, it's a black box. So if I go to the next deal, which is 32, you can see it's also by a black box. That's because the standard is every 16 inches on center, there should be a stud based on construction standards. So in theory, you should be able to just go ahead and put your measuring tape up against the wall, find that 16-inch mark and tag it, and there should be a stud there. So there's ways to validate this, right? So one way to locate the stud is, like I said, just using the measuring tape and going at it, right? If somebody did some kind of remodel job or anything that was not, really requiring them to do any type of inspections, this might not be right, So you want to validate before you do much, to make sure that you have the thing you're looking for. So the way I would try to validate, or the way I try to validate sometimes, is one of two methods. I either do the tap and poke, or I will do use a stud finder that I have, and mine is not the most accurate stud finder, so that is the reason why I don't use just one method. Now, the tap and poke method is very accurate. However, if you're doing this in an area that's going to be highly visible, just note you're going to make little holes in your wall, so you'll have to patch those, right? So just account for that. So the way I do it is I use my finger and this tool here. It's just a little pick, and what it does is it lets me know as I push through whether or not I hit wood, or if I hit a dead space, which it'll go all the way in, right? So the tapping part is you're just listening to the sound of the wall. So the deeper sound means it's hollow, there's nothing behind, and the higher pitch sound is shallow, meaning there's a piece of wood behind there, right? So as I go through, I do hear the tone go up, and so that leads me to believe that the measuring tape and the assumption is it's accurate, that there is a stud there. One thing I want to note is I measured from the corner because usually in the corner of framed areas, there is wood, right? So that's a pretty safe bet. I did want to just call that out so you didn't think you can just measure anywhere on the wall. I go with a place that I know there is going to be some wood there, right? So now comes the poke part. So I'm going to take this little device here, right where I've made my mark, and I'm going to just wiggle it into the drywall. And I'm assuming this drywall is probably going to be a ½ inch, maybe 3/4 up to an inch thick. And once I get beyond that, then I should be able to either hit the wood or fall through the wall, basically, right? With the tool, of course. So I can't go any further here. It's stopping me. That tells me I absolutely have a piece of wood behind me there, behind the wall, right? Now, I'm just for showing you, I'm going to select an area that doesn't or shouldn't have. So I'm pushing it in. And there you go. So that now went all the way through. I'm going to kind of show you from the high angle, which tells me, hey, there's no stud there. Where versus this, I can't go any further. That's because there's a stud there, right? So that just helps prove it. And you can see it's a minor hole. So depending on the color of your wall, of course, you just fill that in really quick, paint over it if you need to. If you have a white wall, you might not even have to paint over it, right? If the plaster or whatever fills in nice enough. The other way to identify or confirm is, like I said, you can use a stud finder. This one is a very, very low cost one. And I will tell you, you pay for what you get, right? So just know if you're going in and you're buying a $2 stud finder, it's not going to be as accurate as if you get like a nicer $20 to $30 stud finder. And they're not as reliable. So how to use this though, like I said, depending on the wall thickness, you may have to adjust. This one's got 3 settings for ½ inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. That is the depth of the drywall. That tells this thing like, okay, you should be looking this deep, and that way you don't get as many false readings. This also has some kind of like AC. It's supposed to detect power in the wall, so that way you don't drill through a junction box or something. I'm not quite sure this is very accurate, to be honest. So, you know, it is what it is. I've had this thing for a long time, and it's not bad, right? But it's not perfect, that's for sure. So let's test it out. So the way you do this is you put it on the wall and you activate it. In my case, I have to hit the button twice to get it to the 1 inch setting. You see the AC lights going off, but I don't have a plug here. On the other side is a closet, so I'm not sure what power, if any, it's picking up. But I'm gonna slide it to the right. Now it's flagging a stud there, which we clearly know doesn't exist because we put that hole through the wall, right? And it's showing wood all the way to there. So now if I go to the left, it's picking up the stud that I believe is there because I poked that hole and showed that it existed. I go to the left and it's staying on, but it goes off, right? So one of the things I've got to be cautious of is there may be cross members in here. So if there is a cross beam, then it would make you think that there is wood there, right? So again, I'm picking it up. So now I'm going right over where I had my hole because maybe there's a cross beam down here. And there we go. So this makes sense, right? Here's my hole where I confirmed. This is where it's first triggering. These are probably 2x4s. So within 2 inches, it should deactivate. And again, kind of guesstimating here. So here's where it's activating. So there you go. I should have a 2x4 that goes up and down here. I may have a cross member down here somewhere. I'll have to find that out. But now I know where I can, or where I'll have to drill to put in a drywall. Okay, so I went ahead and made some lines down, and then I used a level to just draw a straight line down. And what I've come to determine based on my shelf size, so the width of my shelf is going to be 24 inches. So that's my line right here. So what does that mean? That means that my brackets for the shelf support will need to be evenly spaced, probably around here and here. So I'm going to fall short of the stud. So that means that each of my brackets is going to end up on drywall anchors. So I won't be able to utilize the stud, unfortunately. So I walked you through kind of the process of it. Unfortunately for me, it's not going to work out. I hope for your projects, you can leverage those studs, because it's just an all easier, to me at least, an easier process. And it just feels stronger when you're screwed into that wood. But drywall anchors are just as strong. Anchors are measured, or I won't say measured, they have a capacity or ability value posted on the packaging. So you want to make sure you pay attention to that. Realize what you're going to put on your shelf and what the strength of that drywall anchor is. So if you're going to put a safe on that shelf and you buy some 10-pound drywall anchors, guess what's going to fall out of that wall, right? So just be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and mark the spots, some horizontal lines here where I know my shelves are going to be. And then I can go ahead and mark off where I want to put my brackets at. So that way everything looks nice, clean, and in line. So I've got my first shelf in, and I wanted to bring to your attention a couple of things. So one is the drywall anchors that I'm using. So these are the ones I picked these up at my local Home Depot. And as I mentioned before, the weight support, these are 63-pound weight support. So that is good enough for my application. And what these look like are a screw and then this plastic deal. There are different kinds that you can buy. I don't really know what I would call better than the other. I base it really off of the weight support. Although I do like this design where I don't have to drill a hole first and then put the plastic in there. This one here is, you just use your drill gun, you drill it straight into where you marked it, and then you screw your screw in there into this backside. So I like that, works for me. The other thing I wanted to kind of make a point about is being flexible. So you can put your plan together with all of your measurements, and if you're a DIYer, a true DIYer, not a professional, then you're going to find gaps in things that you do. And what I mean by gaps is things you might not have thought about, factors that you couldn't have anticipated. So as an example, when I measured the height of this first shelf, I wanted the storage container to be able to fit directly underneath it. So I measured it, and I assumed I needed a 14-inch open area below it. But what my measurement didn't include is in the bracket, there is this little lip here. So if you don't already have your bracket in hand, figuring out what that measurement is and getting yourself into a corner where everything is based on perfect measurement, like I said, unless you're a professional, you're going to run into problems. So you need to be able to be flexible, right? Find those opportunities, or not opportunities, but kind of take it as you go, and think about things. Mock it up. Make sure. So, in this case, I put my box under here and made sure before I screwed everything in and made my holes that I was going to be able to fit this in, and it did. So now it's a perfect fit. So now I know the distance I wanted between these two shelves. I wanted about a foot in between shelves, right? So now I'm going forward. I'm going to go ahead and put that in, right? The other thing I want to point out is my home's a little older. It's 40, 50 years old. And over time, especially if there's like any kind of water damage or anything like that, walls get warped. They may not be square, right? So don't panic. You know, if you go to put your stuff in, like this wooden board here, and it doesn't go up cleanly to the wall, it's not your fault. It could just be that you have imperfect walls. That's going to happen, and there's nothing really you can do about it unless you want to pull that drywall out or cut your wood to be that shape. But then, you know, that's a lot, right? Like for a regular DIYer, that is a lot of work, a lot of effort. And depending on what you're doing, where you're going to put your stuff at, maybe it's not that important to you. So for me, this is inside my closet, my personal closet. I don't care, right? Like if anybody's going to come to my closet and point out that I have little gaps in there, then I don't know, you got to find more to do, right? Anyhow, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in the next shelf with the distance, like I said, of 24 inches. That one I'm not worried about, that little lip, like I pointed out below, because the stuff I am stacking on the shelves are going to be shirts, some shorts, and shoes. So one, they're flexible, and then two, nothing that I have is really actually going to be 12 inches high. I just wanted that space to be uniform and accommodate, you know, anything basically I wanted to put in there. It's going to give me plenty of room. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed on, and I'll bring you back once I get the next set of shelves in. Okay, I finished installing the shelves, so that's all done. I did some patchwork on where those staples were. That's still drying. It's going to dry overnight. I will do some touch-up paint once I get everything all done. I figure I might as well finish everything first before I do any kind of painting, so that way if something slips or I don't end up messing up anything, then I don't have to repaint it. So I'd rather do it once. I've went ahead and removed the hanger bar that was across there in this middle section, and that's because I've got a piece of wood here that I'm going to bring that'll butt up next to the shelves. That'll be the separator between the hung clothes and everything else, my storage, my t-shirts and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue putting that together and pick up in the morning. All right, guys, so I was going to quit for the night, but decided to press on. So I went ahead and put in the vertical separator there, the divider, and added in the hanger for the hanger bar. I have one more bar that's going to go just below, and that'll be for pants. I'm mounting this. I'm going to have to go get some more screws, but I'm using these L brackets here to attach to the top. And then on the wall, like down there, I've got another one there. I have one more that I'm going to install on the inside of the divider. So just to give it a little bit more strength. Should be fine, holding everything up. But ultimately, as soon as I'm done with that second bar, which I have to go buy that as well. I didn't have enough left over from cutting that upper one. But when I put that second one for the jeans, then that'll be a wrap for the closet. So there are some things I've got to kind of just organize here a little bit. So that way I make sure everything fits. It shouldn't be a problem at all. But overall, it's coming out okay. I'll show you the final product very shortly. Okay, guys, so here's the finished product. I've got that second bar installed down there. I went with an aluminum version. It was actually cheaper than the solid oak, and I didn't have to paint it, so that made it even better. I still have to do some cosmetic stuff, like paint the brackets that are silver, but that's minor stuff. That doesn't bother me at all, because again, it's inside of the closet. I don't care, right? So, of course, as you make your stuff, you want to make it really, really nice. You can add whatever you want to make it that much better. Painting it's definitely nice for the eyes, but again, depending on you, right? How much money you're willing to invest, how much time. In this particular case, I think overall the remodel of this closet ran me about $150, right? So that's all of the wood, the brackets, the screws, and that's about it, right? So that's all that was. So overall, I think it came out pretty great. I have plenty of space now, plenty of storage. I've got a few more things I need to unpack in here, but generally this is it. If at any point in time there's something in this video that you'd like to know a little bit more about, or perhaps you saw something that you'd like me to elaborate on in another video, let me know below in the comments. I'd be more than happy to dive deeper in on, tool utilization or any, advice that you'd like to ask from me. Again, I'm not a professional. I don't do carpentry or anything like that as a profession. But I mean, you can see I kind of do my own thing, right? If you like my videos, like, comment, subscribe, the usual stuff. I produce every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you don't want to miss that video, or at least you want to know when the video is released, hit the notification bell and that'll give you a little chime as soon as it posts. Until then, I hope to see you in the next video.